Perez Hilton has an Aries stellium, which definitely explains why he has bullying tendencies. That strong Aries influence explains why he's so blunt, brutal, and ruthless, and why he had no shame going after all of these celebrities the way he did during all these years. On a more positive note, Aries is a cardinal sign. It's ambitious, driven, action oriented, so it enjoys starting new ventures. And this explains why Perez managed to become a pioneer for the celebrity gossip culture that dominated the early 2000s. Aries is also an independent and focused on the self. And Perez is pretty much a self-made public figure. He's self-employed and he's his own boss. He didn't rely on anyone to get to the top. He just carved his own path and started his blog, and it grew into what it is today. Aries is also a very alpha male type of energy, and we all know how homophobic alpha males can be. And Perez did say that he hoped that his son wouldn't be gay because it would make his life easier. And he also said that he would not sign his kid up for dance classes, claiming that it might make his son gay. And it's kind of weird that Perez would say that, considering that he is a part of the LGBTQ community, but this can be attributed to his Aries stellium. His sun is conjunct his south node in the sign of Aries, and this can mean that in this lifetime, Perez will deal with a lot of hardships surrounding his personality and his identity. And this placement can also suggest someone who finds pleasure in conflict, someone who falls back on their old toxic ways way too often, and someone who refuses to evolve, since the South Node represents the things you need to let go of in this lifetime. That Aries Mercury can cause Perez to just blurt things out without even thinking. And in 2007, Perez once announced the death of Fidel Castro because he wanted to be the first media outlet to cover the story. And this falls in line with that Aries energy, since Aries love to come in first place. They love to be impulsive. But it turns out that the news were fake and that Fidel Castro was still alive. Perez also immediately thought that Michael Jackson's death in 2009 was a publicity stunt, and he posted a very insensitive post about it on his blog before realizing that Michael Jackson was in fact really dead, and then he took down the post. So again, another example of that Aries impulsive nature. Mercury also rules early education, so in the sign of Aries, it can point to Perez attending an all-boy Catholic school. He also received a scholarship to attend NYU, which can be due to that Aries in Mercury, since Aries is very competitive. Mercury also represents the media, so an Aries Mercury could suggest Perez getting in social media feuds, having controversial opinions, and him just using foul language. His Venus in Aries can point to Perez preferring being single, or it could point to him being in relationships where he's the one wearing the pants. Venus is in its detriment in Aries, so this can actually make it hard for Perez to find companionship because he's just so mean and annoying, and who would want to deal with someone like that? Venus in Aries can also lead to frequent legal battles, since Venus is the natural ruler of Libra, which rules legal matters. Perez is a Virgo moon, And Virgo moon individuals can be perfectionists and they can be very critical of others, but also of themselves. The moon represents how you nurture yourself, and don't forget that the way you treat other people is a reflection of the way you treat yourself. Virgo is also associated with health, fitness, and food, so Virgo moon people can be very critical of themselves when it comes to their weight. And Perez has been very open about his weight-related struggles, and he did appear on a weight loss show on VH1 in 2004, and he became more serious about getting fit in 2008. And this could be attributed to his Virgo moon forming a sextile to his Uranus and his Mars, which can make someone who's willing to take concrete action towards transformation. Perez also has his Chiron in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus also deals with food, but also your self-esteem. So a Taurus Chiron could denote eating disorders, self-esteem problems. It can also point to someone being superficial and materialistic. Virgo is naturally ruled by Mercury, so Virgo moons can become very great writers. Virgo is also a very factual sign, so you would think that Perez would check his sources before hitting on publish, but his moon is forming a square to both his Neptune, which is the planet of lies and deceit, and to his Jupiter, the planet of personal beliefs and opinions. So this can make Perez delusional, deceitful, judgmental, self-righteous, reckless. This can also create someone who's very biased in his reporting and has no problem altering his story for his own benefit. And Perez has been called out in the past for being biased in his reporting. For instance, when one of his celebrity friends does something unflattering, he remains quiet, but when it's someone he isn't as close to, he comes for them really hard. Perez has Mars in Cancer, and this can make him very defensive when it comes to people he considers family, which can include his actual family, but also his close friends, which backs up my argument about him being unfairly biased towards his loved ones. This placement can also highlight Perez's desire to have children, since Cancer is a very maternal sign, and he does have 3 kids, and his Mars is forming a trine to his Uranus, which can indicate a typical way of conceiving children. And Perez did rely on egg donors and surrogates to start his family. Mars in Cancer can also indicate Perez having issues with women, since Cancer is the sign associated with women in general, and Mars deals with conflict. Perez has a long history of being super nasty towards women and throwing out the worst slurs at them. And when people have a lot of Aries placements or even just fire placements in their birth chart, there can be some sort of a clash between them and women, since Aries is such a masculine energy that it just can't mesh well with feminine energy. Cancer is also associated with youth, and recently the TikTok community started a petition to ban Perez from the app because he was being creepy and dramatic. Mars in Cancer could also indicate Perez being bullied when he was a child, since Cancer does rule your early life. And you know what they say, hurt people hurt people. This could also explain why he doesn't want his son to be gay, because he knows the oppression and prejudice that he would face, and he doesn't want his son to go through something similar. And Mars in Cancer individuals can be very conservative and traditional, and when you combine this with that protective instinct, this can create a very controlling parent. And I did mention how Perez said he wouldn't sign his kid up to dance classes. And by the way, Perez's son is named directly after Perez. Like they have the same name, except his son has Roman numbers after his name to differentiate. And apparently, they also have the same nickname. His son is called Perez Jr. So there we go with the controlling parent aspect. And also, Perez's beef with Charlie D'Amelio started with the fact that Perez didn't find it appropriate for a 15-year-old to post a TikTok of her dancing in a bikini to a suggestive song, which, first of all, you're not his dad, so please be quiet. And also, you did post pictures of Miley Cyrus when she was underage and she was allegedly not wearing any underwear, so maybe you should practice what you preach before preaching it. Mars in Cancer could also point to Perez being a racist, since Cancer is the sign of race, origins, and roots. And as I said earlier, Cancer Mars people like to fight for people who look like them, who share the same roots. And back in 2009, Perez got into a fight with the manager of the music band Black Eyed Peas, and he actually got punched in the face, and that was because Perez called will.i.am the F word. But in an interview he did afterwards, he said that he was thinking about saying the N word instead in order to get a reaction out of will.i.am. And this is a huge red flag. Like, I could only imagine what kind of beliefs Perez has in his head, and something tells me that this is only the tip of the iceberg. Perez has his Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, which can make him a very skilled communicator. Jupiter represents your blessings, your luck, your opportunities, and that Gemini placement could indicate someone who has been very blessed with the power of wit, cleverness, someone who should pursue a career in the media, since Gemini does rule all forms of media. Jupiter is also the planet of abundance and accumulation, so this placement also suggests someone who has access to a lot of juicy gossip and who's good at researching and collecting the facts, which reinforces his Cancer Mars energy, since it's all about protecting those who give him all the scoops and keeping his sources private. On the negative side, Jupiter is all about going overboard, exaggerating, excess. So having it in Gemini can make Perez an avid gossiper, a two-faced liar, and someone who's nosy and doesn't know how to mind their own business. In fact, Jupiter placed in Gemini is in its detriment, and this is because Jupiter represents the one and only truth, and it naturally rules Sagittarius. And Gemini is the opposite sign of Sagittarius, and Gemini is the sign of duplication, and it likes to offer different versions of the truth, aka lies. And Perez's Jupiter is opposing his Neptune, and this definitely adds to his tendency to publish things that just aren't true on his blog. And by the way, Neptune rules your fears, and Sagittarius rules the world, diversity, and everything that's foreign to you. So this Sagittarius Neptune can make someone very intolerant of other races, and it is forming a square to Perez's Virgo moon. So this can translate into Perez constantly criticizing non-white people, which is yet another red flag regarding Perez being a racist. Perez has his Saturn in the sign of Leo, which confirms what I was saying regarding him having issues with his children. Saturn is a very restrictive, controlling planet, and when placed in the sign of Leo, which rules children, it can bring hardships and struggles in your relationships with your kids. And this further reinforces what I said regarding his Mars in Cancer. Leo also rules celebrities, so Saturn in Leo can also represent Perez beefing and getting sued by celebrities, which reinforces that Venus in Aries. It can also indicate Perez working in the entertainment industry and writing about celebrities, since Saturn does deal with your career and your aspirations. This placement can also explain why Perez failed at acting, since before PerezHilton.com was even a thing, Perez was actually studying to become an actor, and he graduated from NYU with a degree in drama. And Leo is the sign of drama and stage performance, so having Saturn in Leo could have made his acting dream difficult to achieve. I mean, Perez did end up appearing on a few TV shows and a few musicals here and there, but it never brought him as much success as his blogging career, which could have made him depressed because he did complete a whole degree about drama while blogging was just something he did as a hobby, and Saturn is the planet of depression. This placement can also point to Perez playing a role and constantly hiding behind a character, because in case you didn't know, Perez Hilton is not his real name. And also, Leo is associated with self-expression and pride, so having Saturn in Leo could represent Perez being bullied as a child, which points back to him having a Cancer Mars. And also, this could represent Perez not being able to freely be his true self and using his blog as a way to recreate his own identity. Saturn in Leo individuals can also be very superficial, materialistic, judgmental, snob, and they look down on most people, especially those who don't look like them, since Leo is the sign of royalty and supremacy. So this again reinforces my allegations about Perez possibly being a racist. And it also reinforces his Chiron in the sign of Taurus, since Taurus also deals with superficiality and materialism. Perez has his Uranus in the sign of Scorpio, which reinforces him having a small circle of friends, since Uranus rules friendships and communities, and Scorpio is a very private and secretive sign. Also, this could reinforce Perez being bullied in the past and being ostracized, since Scorpio is a very negative, traumatizing sign, and so having a Scorpio Uranus can represent negative experiences surrounding friendships. Uranus also covers the internet, and Scorpio is associated with sexuality, secrets, and taboos, and his Uranus is forming a square to his Leo Saturn. And Perez Hilton is known for outing people before they're ready. He outed Lance Bass from the group NSYNC, and he also outed Neil Patrick Harris, and he also has no shame leaking compromising pictures of celebrities like sex tapes, unreleased music, and anything that's supposed to be hidden. Perez Scorpio Uranus can also deal with Perez being a gay rights activist, since Uranus is also the planet of activism and causes. And it's also forming a trine to his Cancer Mars, which further emphasizes his need to fight for his people. But let's not forget that Perez is delusional. So his definition of activism includes fighting fire with fire, sinking to new lows, and being a bully. Perez has his Pluto in the sign of Libra, and it's opposing his Mercury and Venus, which can cause relationship issues due to him being overly dominant and coming across as manipulative. It can also make Perez very obsessed with his own mind and his own opinions, which supports my theory of him being biased. This opposition also reinforces his investigative skills, his nosiness, and him being relentless when uncovering celebrity secrets. It can also add to his Venus in Aries and him having negative experiences with law. His Mars squaring his Pluto confirms that he is indeed a bully and someone who unfortunately rose to power by attacking other people. Perez is a Libra North Node and an Aries South Node, so in this lifetime he has to learn how to get along with people and stop being so annoying. He needs to be more compromising when he's in a relationship. He needs to get to know people without any ulterior motives, without being overly dominant, and without playing mind games. Perez also has to learn how to listen to people and how to acknowledge other people's point of view and how to be more considerate of other people's feelings. He needs to realize that there is a way for him to state his opinion and advocate for social causes without starting a fight. Whether or not he manages to activate his Libra North Node in this lifetime remains to be seen, but as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Perez's Aries Sun is conjunct to his Aries South Node, so I highly doubt that Perez will stop being Perez. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, and let me know what celebrities you want me to analyze in the future, and I will see you very soon for another celebrity birth chart reading.